And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Darian Talks UTSA. Coming off a pretty bad week, a pretty unfortunate week last week against Rice. UTSA is going on this weekend to take on FAU in a homecoming game in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. So the UTSA Roadrunners are back at home. Um, as bad as this season has went, UTSA has not lost at home. So hopefully that gives us some good juju, puts us in a situation to where, we could possibly come away with a win in this one. This is another very winnable game, but it's not going to be an easy game. It's going to be very similar to what we've seen against Rice, just in terms of the situation. You got two teams here who are both 2-4. So, both teams are sort of in the same situation, trying to figure out what can they salvage for this season? What can UTSA salvage for this season? And yeah, so we'll obviously get into the game, get into some topics, some hot topics going into the game of, what we're up against with FAU, what UTSA even has to offer, considering we're going to have guys suspended. We got guys injured. Um, you know, I talked to a lot of folks since the Rice game just to get a sense of what the program is like, what sort of going on in the minds of the people who are at the team and around the team and things like that. So I'll share some of those insights as well, just to kind of give you guys peel back the curtain on what people are feeling around the locker room and things like that. So we'll jump into some of that. Obviously, I'm going to get to as many questions as I possibly can. We don't have a ton to start today, so I can jump into some of those questions, and then we'll let this thing roll as we normally do. I'm going to be early today. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Those of you who are here and those of you who watch whenever you get a chance to watch this, be sure to smash that like, subscribe to the channel if you are new here as well. We'll go ahead and get it kicked off with some of the questions we have. Let's see. We have Mike, of course, with our first question. He asked, do you think the team practicing harder this offseason with more contact than in previous years may have hurt more than it helped? I wonder if this will be something they do next season. Well, I will tell you a lot of that the only real way to understand that is to look at how many guys that were banged up coming into the season, and then how injury riddled are we. I think, that's a fair thing to bring up whenever you consider the fact of how injuries have impacted our season, and how many guys, that we've lost due to injury. You could say that because who knows what the recovery's like? Who knows what things were sort of lingering, from some of those, camp days and some of the stuff that happened in the spring. So you never know. But those things are very hard for a coach to understand. I think a lot of the reason you do that is because you're losing a lot of guys, and you know that a lot of guys are going to come in and be competing for positions. And the only way to see if those guys can actually play and they can come in and produce is you got to see if they can hit. You got to see if they can they can roll whenever the pads are on, right? So that's why you're going to have more contact, more physical practices with younger teams and things like that. So and that's another point too. I think some of the youth that we have on our team, you do have them go out there, and the younger your team is, the more contact that they're going to have, because they got fresh bodies. They don't have injuries that's carrying over for years and years and years. So I don't know. It's difficult to. I'm sure Coach Traylor and his staff will figure out, what sort of the sweet spot is on that. But yeah, it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing for me to sort through. Let's see. Mike says, I feel like this season may have set the NIL situation and practice facility situation even further back. I want to talk about this a little bit, because I think you bring up a good point here. Here's what I'll say. This does not bode well for considering what's going on and some of the just negativity around what the team has looked like this season, considering what the expectations were, this is not going to help the NIL situation, considering who we have actually, contributing the bulk of the money to the NIL. So obviously you got your big wigs, your April and Sirius, your forget his name, Wills. You got those folks who are going to contribute a lot of money. But I think one thing that UTSA is really trying to get a hold of is how can we get the fan base to contribute more money to the calls for NIL. I don't know if this season is going to help that out at all. Because you look at some situations. I think I was seeing something about Michigan, right? Michigan was like, hey, I think that there's guys, I want to say that Portnoy guy for that controls Barstool. I think he said, I'll give $4 million if we just go get a quarterback, right? So what you see in some of these schools with old money, they're able to, people are able to look and diagnose what a problem is and say, you know what, I'm going to tap this guy on the shoulder that has, big pockets, and I'm going to ask that guy, or that guy's going to take responsibility for, getting us a quarterback or getting us a defensive end or whatever we need. We don't really have that lever to pull. And the fact that we're trying to get, UTSA needs a lot of the fans to kind of get on board with this. Well, the way our fans are and our supporters are right now, whenever the team loses or the team's not doing well, they're not going to show up to games. They're not going to, they're not going to, people are all talking about they're not renewing season tickets and all that type of stuff. Do you think those folks are going to be the ones contributing to NIL? No. So I think, UTSA has a very, very unique issue that they have to figure out and sort through because here's what I think. I'm not joking at all. Based on what UTSA has shown so far, I go back and I look at the schedule that we have, the remaining games that we have on the schedule, and this FAU game is very winnable. The Tulsa game is also a winnable game. Let's play some hypotheticals for a moment and say, hey, you know what? UTSA finds a way to win both of those games. That puts us at 4 games before we go into Memphis, North Texas, Temple, and Army. The Rice game really, really hurts. Both Rice and East Carolina, those were also very, very winnable games. It just shows you how, and they were close games, obviously. UTSA was in a position to win. I mean, we even took the lead against Rice. We hold them out. We're having a completely different conversation right now. And I guarantee you there'd be more people in the chat if that didn't happen. But that's sort of my thing. It's I look at that situation and I say, like, it'll be very, very, if UTSA can find a way to sneak into a bowl game, I think that'll be huge because that'll be something that we can kind of salvage out of this season and keep the fan interest. But let's say UTSA loses out. I'm just putting a hypothetical out there. Let's say they lose out or they only win 1 or 2 more games and we finish the season, I don't know what, 4-8 or 3-9 or whatever. It's going to be a very, very tough road back to where UTSA was in those last 3 years because the support's going to go away, which means money is going to go away, which means recruits and players are going to go away. And we're going to be almost starting back at zero. People don't realize that the NIL situation has sort of reset our clock, right? UTSA is we've established ourselves well over the last, since in our short time, but this NIL is a game changer that is going to be really, really difficult for us to navigate if we don't find a way to pull something out of this season, in my opinion. Mike also says coach seems to be setting his ways, and I don't see an OC change happening at all. Absolutely not. I don't think it will either. Here's the thing. I can appreciate the stubborn, like some people, a lot of folks associate the word stubborn with something negative, and it's not always a negative, especially when it comes to football or when it comes to someone leading a project or something like that. Sometimes that stubbornness can be a a positive because that person is going to stay the course, right? They're going to stay the course. They're going to push through. They're going to be resilient through whatever plan that they've put in place to execute against. I think for a while, Traylor his stubbornness has worked out for us for years. And I think right now his stubbornness is getting under folks' skin because he is going to go right. I mean, I said this on the show before. He's not going to change his OC, not midseason. He's not going to step in and start calling plays himself. He's not going to do some of those things. I think after the season is over, they're going to find someone to pin this on, right? They're going to find someone who's responsible for this happening, just like you see in any sports situation. You see that in NFL and stuff all the time. The Jets fired Coach Saleh, after their game last week. So anyway, you see, fall guys all the time, and I would bet that Burke is probably going to be the fall guy at the end of the year. And you never want people to lose their jobs, right? Because a lot of this stuff, we want a certain product for entertainment for a football game, but there's a reality to some of this is that person is going to lose a job, the person is going to lose income, that person is going to lose that type of thing. So you don't want that type of situation, but something's going to have to change, and it's not going to happen during the season. It'll happen afterwards. But regardless, the offense can't function like this for another season. It shouldn't be functioning like this now, right? It shouldn't be functioning like this. We should have made a pivot. And to be fair, I think from a quarterback perspective, we were better at that position last game. It was probably the best game McCown played this season, without a doubt. He should be commended for some of that. It wasn't perfect, but I did think he did a lot of things better than what he had before. I think if he can continue to build on that, it definitely gives us an opportunity to win at the weekend. But we'll have to see. But yeah, no change is going to come during the season. I can't see that one. Cody says outlook seems quite bleak for this program. Hopefully we can learn and continue to improve. Just not understanding the lack of discipline of this team. Yeah, I don't either. The lack of discipline has been alarming, and it is something that I can't put my finger on. I think Coach Traylor talked about, holding the guys accountable at practice, and and he's saying that he's done that more than he's ever had to do it, during his tenure here at UTSA. So he's running those guys and he's holding them accountable. But at some point you got to start looking at playing time and taking some of those guys off the field that are repeat offenders and that are repeat people who are making these mistakes. Right. I think that's another form of punishment that you got to look at as well. But yeah, I don't know what it is on some of these penalties that we get. Obviously, we're playing a game, right? We're not going to go penalty free. Guys are out there trying and they're competing and they're doing everything they're going to do. There's going to be some penalties. Refs going to make some bad calls, but some of the pre-snap penalties are just inexcusable for an offense. Those things just have to get cleaned up because, we can't beat, like I said this weeks ago, and I'll say it again. Right now, UTSA is in a state to where and that's the thing that we just have to sort of come to terms with, and I think we're all coming to terms with now. We're not a very good team, right? So, like, penalties is only going to make things worse, and we're not good enough to overcome those penalties. So that discipline, I don't know what the issue is. I don't know what they gotta do to fix some of this, but yeah, it's we're not able to. It's like we're taking a step forward and 2 steps backwards every time because of the penalties, and we're not good enough to get 15 yards in 3 plays or 20 yards in 3 plays. We can barely, we just looked okay at drop back, and making some good decisions once we got outside the pocket for the first time really last game. So we'll, can't have the undisciplined things happening. Hola everybody. Shout out to Albert. Anthony says it's homecoming weekend. Let's go get us a win finally. Birds up. Hope so, man. Hope so. Max says sad to see Rocco Griffin go, man. Yeah. Um. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but the thing about it is he was in a very very competitive position. Running back, we got running backs for days. We got talented running backs. Barnes has been a steady player for us for years now. Robert Henry, Brandon Ha might be one of the top guys. We got Will Henderson, the fast kid coming in. There's just a lot of competition, and then Rocco himself. I heard some off the field stuff. Not anything like too bad. Well, I don't know, not anything bad like illegal, but there are some rumors about you know um, participation in workouts and things like that potentially. But yeah, it's unfortunate. He's a talented kid. He's gonna find a spot to land. It's gonna take him with open arms, and he's gonna go and be a great running back for another team. These type of things are gonna happen. It's gonna happen a lot more. Yeah, it's going to be like when us having a bad season, you're going to see a whole bunch of guys hit the portal. A whole bunch of guys are going to hit that portal. So he won't be the last. Albert says FAU QB is Cam Fancher is questionable for Saturday. Yeah, I seen that. Interesting. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I think Albert has another one down here. He says, we can't wait on a savior. People need to pitch in for NIL. Also, the vote to reject the athletic fee increase is slowly coming back to bite us in there. Yeah, 100%. All of it is UTSA needs all the help they can get right now. So people who, I don't know. I think it would be better if those. I'm seeing a lot of. I follow a lot of what some of the bigger schools are doing, and I see a lot of them starting to consolidate. Their collectives, and they've yielded a lot of success of just having one place that people go to donate, to give money to athletes and stuff like that. That might be something we should look at exploring, and especially if you pull all your resources together and all those collectives work together and have sort of a joint effort in trying to accomplish these goals. I think that could be beneficial. I think that can be beneficial, but you're right. We can't wait on a savior. Everybody needs to, pitch in where they can. Max says, curious to see how the scuffle last game will impact this game with those suspended or with punishments. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of guys got suspended. Yeah. We'll see. Did he announce yet who got suspended? Did they announce that? I don't think they announced. That's not something they're gonna announce, right? Yeah, I don't think they would announce that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm hearing it's not a small number. It's not a small number. It's not like an overly huge number, but it's enough. It's enough. One bad season and these fans want to jump ship and cancel their season ticket. Shaking my head. Need to break that trend as a fan base, in my opinion. Listen, I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%, but that's sort of the thing right now, right? That's how it's going to be until UTSA, it's almost like for example, you think about people who support the Longhorns. People don't even know why they support the Longhorns, but they have generations of people supporting the Longhorns. So now they support them, and they almost kind of grow up in it, right? Even when Texas was, having all these terrible seasons, they were still packing the stands every single game. Obviously, that's a bigger example, but UTSA doesn't have that type of following yet. trying to build that following. But UTSA, just the fact of the matter is, we don't have that kind of following yet. But it's going to take things like this, right? Getting people together, kind of having a community here and talking to football and things like this. It's going to take stuff like this. It's going to really band people together, and that's really going to help enhance the fan experience. Also, I think people underestimate some of what makes people hooked, right? It could be like, it's not just all, like, here's the thing, people aren't hooked just because of what they see on Saturday. They're hooked on it's sort of like a drip effect. You got a show on Wednesday that you watch at 6 p.m., right? You guys come watch the show. You have Coach Traylor has a show right after this. You have, if there was just like, I just think about some other situations. Like, I work here in Austin, and when I go in the office, you see Longhorn flags hanging up, and you see people talking about the Longhorns and that sort of thing. Those little drips every week that lead you into the game is some of what connects us to these teams, and really starts to embody and be proud supporters of those teams. UTSA just hadn't had enough of that yet for that to impact large masses of folks who are going to be constant, season ticket holders and things like that. It'll happen, but it's going to take a lot of time. It's Rap says, in order to get SA behind UTSA, they had to beat UT. Until you beat San Antonio people's team, UT, they will not take UTSA seriously. NIL just saved UT's program, and it would never be like it was the last decade. That's an interesting take. That's an interesting take. And I'm honestly not mad at that. Like, I'm not mad at that comment, actually. Listen, I no longer live in San Antonio, but I'd be curious to hear others' thoughts on that, because I know there's a lot of a huge UT fan base in San Antonio. That's interesting. I don't have anything much to add to that, but that's interesting. Do you think the coaches have those players with the most pre-snap penalties circled in a way where we bring in someone new to play and earn that right? Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. But right now, what can you do? I mean, when you have a team that's as injured as UTSA is at the minute, what do what? There's not much you can do. You got to play those guys. But trust me, they're going to be circled, and they're going to be probably, I think it'll be pretty clear where we target in the transfer portal. This particular, whenever it opens up again in the off season. So yeah, those guys won't be meaning, hey, let's get another player to start this week and see how these things play out. Yeah, sometimes you can do that, sometimes you can't. That's sort of the thing I was trying to allude to. Sometimes you can do that, but if you don't have depth in that position, then you got to roll with that guy. That's just as simple as it is. That's how it goes. I'm gonna get to the member questions because there's a lot of member stuff, and I'm coming right there to you guys. There's a few more before I get to you, because I think you guys are in a conversation down here. Okay. Really hope we emphasize and really try to clean up penalties. Kind of touched on that. Mike says, what are your thoughts about Rocco leaving? It seems like the running back room is still a little heavy, and we could potentially see others leave for playing time. Yeah. I mean, listen, like I said, Rocco is he's gonna go start somewhere. He's a really talented kid. He's gonna go do some good things, and we still have a ton of talent in that running back room. And yeah, with the rotations being the way it is, I think it's going to be interesting. I'll tell you the guy to watch out for is Kavorian Barnes. It'd be interesting to see what he does at the end of the year. because how much he's a junior, I believe, right? Is he a junior? I think he's a junior this year. Yeah, junior. Um, I mean, he'll probably come back, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him walk. I wouldn't be. He hasn't had a ton of success over the last couple of years, um, and he might be looking for a fresh offense to run from, to run in, or maybe just a different scheme or something like that. But he's a guy I got my eye on. I think Brandon High is probably going to, you know, move into that number one running back role. He's a really good player. Uh, I like what he brings to the table, and I also think that you'll see because Robin Henry's a senior, so he'll be gone after this year. Um, so yeah, who knows? Makes me think though that running back room it looks heavy right now, but like Kavorian has I mean he'll be there next year probably. Um, and then Brandon High will be there. Well, no, you got Bryson Donnell, you got Will Henderson. Yeah, no, the running back room is deep. Let's see. I'm curious about what Traylor will do with our offensive line coach. I feel like majority of our issues are coming from there and are trickling into other positions. Could be all around messy. Well, you know the offensive line coach is, don't you? Let me just make sure I'm correct when I say this. Yeah, the offensive line coach is was the offensive line coach because I was gonna say the wrong person. Either way, you got to do something. And here's the thing: I don't even necessarily know if it's anything to do with the coaching. You might just don't have the talent you need up front. That very well could be that, and you got guys who were experienced, but you got guys who didn't play together much, so they aren't able to build any chemistry, and they're getting injured every other second. Um, that's a you know that's just a difficult situation. I don't know exactly who to sort of blame for those, but yeah, interesting. Let me see really quick. I can come back to that. Let's see. I went over that one. Agreed on the vote. Definitely disappointed with that original decision. Yep, it's gonna happen. So we making a bowl game this year or not? LOL. Don't anticipate being eligible. We probably won't. And I don't. Um, I don't mean to be rude or anything like that, but we probably won't. It's not looking great. To me, I thought you can't lose to East Carolina. You can't lose this game to Rice. You know, like we would have needed to at least split one of those. We would need to win at least one of those games, in my opinion, for us to have a chance. We losing both, nah, probably won't. Probably won't. Suspended for what? The brawl after the game at Rice. That's what we were talking about. Student body sucks with support toward athletics. It's hard to convince when they're not good. Yeah. Football at the time was our one thing going. People need to look at the bigger picture and not success. And not success. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, look, um, it's interesting to hear that the student body still doesn't support the athletics. It was really, really bad when I was there. Oh man, it was really. We were not like for the people who were already there. They were not a very big fan of football being there. I can't tell you how many people was like, "Yeah, I came here because there was no football at this school." Like, and they were like, I think I've told this story before. There was a few of us walked into class. Uh, like I want to say first and second semester we were on campus, and and someone stood up and just berated us for being in her class. It wasn't a professor, it was a student. And she basically cussed us all out and told us that she's not happy that a football team is here because we're, dumb jocks. Yeah, they hated us in the very beginning. So I hope it's better now. I would assume it's better now, but I know it used to be really, really bad whenever I was attending. No announcement. They're doing it in house. You probably see some players play only one half. There's too many injuries to have them all sit out. No, I think there's going to be quite a few that's going to sit out the entire game. From what I'm hearing, I've heard these are rumors, things you hear, but I've heard from multiple people that it won't quite be 10. It won't be quite 10 people. It won't be 10 people. It's a little less than that from what I'm hearing. Um, but yeah, it's not a small number though. Small number is like 2 or 3 people. It's not 2 or 3 people from what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the whole game, but I guess we'll have to see on Saturday. In all honesty, the jumping the ship in SA fan base culture. Oh, the jumping the ship is SA culture. Fans went from honking downtown during the ships to one pop fire when they were losing. That's true. That's true. Even I know that. I know that one. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Brian says, as a former football player, how do you coach discipline and mental toughness during practice? You know what? Great question. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you what they do. It's all accountability stuff. So, for example, if an offense, this used to happen in practice a lot. We used to laugh at the offense every time. This used to happen, but sometimes we have a practice where we keep false starting, or we had a game where we got too many false starts. So like they'll do these like long cadences and like the coaches is almost trying to force like make the offensive line like false start a jump and like first off somebody always does it, like somebody always jumps and it forces everybody to run. So it's going to be a lot of running and just a lot of like they're going to do things to press on your focus, right? So like no jumping off sides. Like they're gonna do stuff to kind of bait you to make these mistakes, and it forces you to lock in. Forces you to lock in. So like, they'll even like whenever you do conditioning at the end of practice, right? They'll get everybody on the line, and then you know, coach will say on his whistle, but then he'll say, "All right, this group go." And he'll say, "Go," and he'll say like "hut" or something like that. But you gotta wait and listen for the whistle. So they're just going to get a lot of those mental games and mental things done to them all week. Um, and and punish them bad if someone gets out of line, right? So anyway, some of that stuff can't be coached though. There's an element of it that just comes with the individual, but those are some of the things they're going to do in practice that's going to sort of force them to lock in and focus and flex that muscle. Danny says, the same ones who swears the Cowboys year to go to the Super Bowl every season. SA fan base is an uphill battle. I got you. 100%. Let's see. True believer in that. They sure did turn on Pop quick. Okay. Let's see. We have Mike says, I agree with It's Rap. The amount of people driving to Austin on Saturdays to see the Horns play is sickening. We have a team here in town. We need to rally around and support. Yeah, man, it's going to be tough to do, especially with a lot of those folks. Like, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, the impact of that I just see the fan base, like, here in Austin and how they just are just, man, bro, like, it's insane living here and living amongst all the Longhorn fans. It's actually insane. It's like actually insane. And I know a lot of that, a lot of those folks in San Antonio have that same connection that I mentioned earlier, where, there's generations of the family who have been diehard Longhorn fans, and you sort of just grow up into it, right? Just like I grew up into Cowboys. I grew up with Cowboy blood in my veins because, my grandparents on up, the whole family is all Cowboy fans, and you just sort of grow up in it. UTSA will have its time though. It's just going to take a while. Only about 15 NCAA Division I programs have the money to seriously compete. Unfortunately, we're not one of those teams. Well, yeah, seriously compete on the highest level, yes. But yeah, I mean, on the highest level, yeah, but like that's not really like the marker though. The marker is, can you compete with your contemporaries and your peers in your conference? And the way I look at that is a lot of coaches or a lot of folks, we talked a lot about wanting to bring in a quarterback, and we brought one in super late, and we didn't get the first, second, or third guy that we wanted. The proven guy. That guy's playing for Vanderbilt right now. So yeah. And Frankie Arthur, cousin of Adrian Peterson. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what he looks like. Anthony says it will take time to build that fan base and the financial foundation regarding alumni. Those bigger schools have 100 years a head start. Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. Mr. Meep said, finally catching you live. Shout out to Mr. Meep, man. Appreciate you for being here live, and joining the party. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps more people come in and watch. But yeah, appreciate you for being here. He says, thoughts on Owen. I've been impressed with his progress this season. My thoughts are that I think he has some ability. To be fair, I think he played his best game last week against East Carolina. I really liked some of the decisions he made running with the football. I think he was a little bit, I can't say he was on time with his throws. Well, he wasn't as late as he was on some of them. And I thought his ball placement was a lot better. Not on every pass, but when we needed it to be very good, he showed up and did his thing. And I think his receivers let him down against against Rice. 100%. His receivers let him down, in my opinion. Too many drops. He threw a lot of catchable balls. So yeah, I mean, listen, that's certainly progress. Like, I don't think he's a world beater quarterback. I heard Coach Traylor made some comments today about, happy to see happy to, I think he was saying something like happy to see what Owen looks like for the next couple of years. You're just seeing a young guy grow up in front of your eyes and those sorts of things. And I think some of that is true. But I just think there is going to be some limits that comes with this game that I don't know if his play right now that I can see, just his skill set, not even just going at his play, but I just think the skill set specifically, although I think it's manageable and it can be serviceable for a team that can pick up some victories, we're going to need something a bit more dynamic if we want to actually compete for conference championships. That's just what I think. And maybe he can develop into that person, right? I just don't know if he has a toolbox. I don't know if he has that deep of a toolbox for us to get there. But to his credit, like I said, he played better last week. And yeah, you got to give him credit for that, and you just kind of got to wait and see. I would love to see what some of our other quarterbacks got. Not saying I'm calling for Owen not to play or anything like that, but if the season starts to get way out of hand and we're looking at 3-4 wins, I wouldn't mind seeing what Tennyson can do. I wouldn't mind seeing what some of the other guys can do in some of these later games, because we've seen a lot of Owen. We've seen enough of Eddie Lee Marburger. Like, why not see what some of the other talent can do, just to see if there's a different mix or a different flavor if somebody else is at the helm. But yeah, Owen, I think I think he has some growing to do. And yeah, we'll see. Let's see. But yeah, thanks for being here, man. Thanks for being here live. Appreciate you. Israel says, "Stop the cap about Barnes. The only consistencies he has are fumbles. He's arguably behind Rocco before he left, and Rocco didn't even play this. Bro, It's Rab is always on one. Thanks, brother, for being here. Yeah, listen, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not gonna go in on him, but yeah, I don't think he seemed to regress from his freshman year. That's what I'll say. I mean, I think he still has some talent. He still has some abilities, but the fumbles have really, really hurt him. And he's not as dynamic in the open field as he was his freshman year. And yeah, in my opinion, he'll probably be struggling for carries next year with some of the guys that we have. That he's going to be competing with. To be honest, coming from a current student myself. Maybe he's going to say something else later. Jabari Jones says, "What's up? What's good? What's good?" I'll say it. Campos has to go. She's able to deliver some serious corporate sponsorships. We are not even competitive. Shout out to Pioneer coming in hot. Yeah, I mean, listen. Someone retweeted something I thought was super interesting. And I'm gonna go find it really quick because I think it's very relevant to that discussion on Campos. Here's what I'll say. Where is it? Where is it? I'm gonna find this too, because it's a thing that's important, man. Like, let's see. If you guys don't, I would recommend a good follow is a person named Winter Sports at Winter Sports Law on Twitter. He's an attorney, and right now he's turned his focus. He's on college athletics and NIL and sports law and stuff like that. That's what he is. He was a former D1 player. He was a basketball player though, and he has a lot of good information on NIL and things like that. But anyway, I can't find the article or the post that he made. Basically, what he talked about, and if I find it, I'll repost it on my Twitter or something like that. But basically, there's a school, I can't remember what school it was, but they literally let their AD go because they're not that particular person. It was very slow. Oh, I found it right here. A great piece on why Pitt parted. It was Pitt. Why Pitt parted ways with its AD. Two issues loom large, both NIL related and both related to NIL and athlete compensation. The number one reason, and they put like a whole thing out on this, but the number one reason was to disagree on the need for new facilities. And number two, not enough perceived focus / aggressiveness on raising NIL money. And his point on this is running an athletics department is changing. Absolutely. And I don't think it has not been a secret that Campos has been slow to get around to wrap, kind of wrap heads around what we need with this. I mean, you can get that from our head coach. He hadn't come out and said that, but he's been banging the desk about NIL since it first came out. And just now, like I said, remember this summer was the first time that she publicly acknowledged the NIL collectives that supporting UTSA. find another time since that I have the email whenever she first mentioned those two and the two collectives, right? Didn't left one of them out, but so anyway, I don't know how. I'm not saying it's an easy job, but if you're getting paid $500,000 a year, let's figure it out. Although I will say she hires well. She does hire staff well. I will say that. Preston says, Darian, so I have my own opinion on what we should do going into next season. But what do you think needs to happen to hopefully have a better 2025 season? Preston, I would love for you to share. What you think. That would be helpful to all of us. I'm not saying that sarcastically. I'm dead serious. But yeah, I think a couple things. I think a more dynamic quarterback could help. I don't know if we have that person on our roster now or if we need to go get somebody out of the portal. But I think a more dynamic person at that position will help. I do think we probably need to address the receiver position even more. I'm still not getting superstar from any of the guys we have. We have really good guys, don't get me wrong. Like I really like McEwen. But I think, what I think McEwen would benefit from? Him having a guy on the other side who can pull some heat. Like him having a guy on the other side that can pull some attention away. I think he'll thrive in that because he's still a young receiver, man. That dude is just a sophomore, right? And we're asking him to come in and carry the offense and be the most dynamic weapon we have on our offense. That dude was playing, on a high school field a couple years ago. So I think if we can get a big time receiver and more dynamics at the quarterback position. Listen, the way Traylor's offense is going to work, you can't run P or RPO that much and not have a running threat at quarterback. It just doesn't work that well, right? Like defenses basically have to pick their poison. With a Frank because he could hurt you with his legs. Well, our guys, at least the two quarterbacks that we've shown, they can't hurt you with their legs like that. Like if a play breaks down and they're like, they have to evade the rush and they just happen to get out the pocket, they can hurt your legs like that. But like on a run read option, the read option that we give up a touchdown to every single week, our guys aren't those type of guys. And that type of thing is what makes this RPO offense works. But we don't have that. So I think, we'll need to address that. And then obviously on the defensive side of the ball, obviously got to reload at D-line. And then I think secondary, it would be great to see some development from some of the guys there. So yeah, we have a lot to fix. But offensive coordinator, clear. More dynamic quarterback is I think is clear as well. And then if we could land a big time receiver, that'd be helpful. OC needs to get gone. Traylor got to make some changes in offseason. Yeah, I'm sure that the OC is going to be the fall guy this year. Shout out to Angela. Angela says, birds up on the live game day show. It was crazy watching the game and reading everyone's comments. Yeah, I mean, listen, that was dope, man. That was fun. A lot of folks liked that and enjoyed that. It is hard for me to commit 4 hours, though, to sitting in the same spot on a camera. Some folks were joking, like, are you getting paid for that? I'm like, no, not really. Listen, if y'all know a sports media company, just tell them to holler at your boy. But no, it was fun. I'm definitely going to do it again this season. I'll probably do a couple more this season. I think people really like those. I'll do a lot more promoting it throughout the week so we can have an even bigger crowd. But I thought I didn't expect there to be a lot of folks, and I thought the crowd got okay. We had about close to 70 folks here during the game, and we sort of held that number for a while. It was a good time. I hope to do it again, 100%. If there's enough demand and people like are really calling for it, like I'll 100% do it. Let's see. The CAP program at UTSA does also provide an issue, in my opinion. UTSA will never truly branch off from UT if they keep doing that. It's good for enrollment, but the students aren't fans of UTSA rather than UT. I think I know what you're talking about with the CAP program, but I don't want to go into detail because I could just be wrong. But I think it's like the go to UTSA for a bit and then end up at UT. I think that's what you're referring to. Yeah, doesn't help. Doesn't help. Seth says it sounds like there's going to be a super league and G5. A super league and G5 programs are going to have to do their own thing. Seems like ESPN and TV markets are pushing for something like this. I don't think it's a terrible. I honestly don't think it's going to be that bad for G5s. To be like, well, depends on what you define as that bad. Like, I would much rather. I'm not even joking. I would much rather those that Super League, they have their own championship, and then the G5 programs have something and they have their own championship. I would like them to split it down the middle like that. Honestly, I would honestly love that. Like, I'm sure some folks wouldn't like it, but I would like it, to be honest. What's the story with JT? I thought he was cleared to play. Well, I think he hurt his hurt his knee again or something. I think. I was listening to and this is only what I'm interpreting from one of Coach Traylor, I think the Zoom thing or something like that. I actually don't know. I think he got hurt again though, honestly. Or maybe he was talking about someone else, but I don't know. I thought he was cleared to play, and then he was on the injury report and did not play. So we'll see. Amador's on the depth chart this week. Hopefully we see him play too. Who knows? Who knows? It's hard to tell at this point. We'll win homecoming. Will I hope so? I sure hope so. I haven't even talked about this game that we have at the weekend. I'll wrap up these last 6 minutes on the game. Honestly, y'all, I think it is certainly a winnable game for UTSA. That much I know, but it's whenever you think about the injuries that we've sustained, you know, we're already beat up at offensive line. We lost offensive linemen for a year. You know, we're already beat up in place on our defense. We lost Big Joe for the rest of the year. So I still think the defense can they're going to have to bring their A game because Florida Atlantic, if they start to get rolling, they can score points. They put up 37 points against 37 on who was that? North Texas. You know, if you look at their last two games, I know Wagner is not, you know, Wagner is an FCS team, but they've coming off 2 consecutive weeks where they put up a lot of points. 41 against Wagner, 37 against North Texas. So it's just something to keep an eye on. And if you look their game against FIU, they put up 38. So they are a team that has put up some pretty big scoring numbers. Obviously, we're still in a situation where the highest, the most points we scored in the game is 28, and that was what we did our first game against Kennesaw State. That worries me a little bit. I'll just be completely honest with you, because it's not that I don't think we can beat this team, but whenever I go out there and see that this team can especially if their quarterback plays, that they can put up some numbers, it just worries me because our offense is shown to be very, very limited and undisciplined. So who knows what we're going to see. For the sake that it's homecoming and for the sake that I'm hoping that we pull something out of this season, or just create some sort of excitement, because I do think we could, like the first 4 games in conference were very winnable for us. East Carolina was very winnable. We should have beat Rice. FAU is very winnable, and Tulsa is very winnable. So I'm gonna say, hey, we're gonna find a way to kick out a victory in homecoming, just like Will's talking about it. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping we get the dub, but I don't know what to expect from our team. That's the hard thing about doing some of these breakdowns on what we expect is going to happen. It's like I don't know what to expect from UTSA game in and game out this year. And it's like, hey, do I go in and say, hey, I expect us to do bad? I expect us to make mistakes, so on and so forth. So we'll see, man. All right. Couple more and then we'll wrap. Pioneer says if a student athlete becomes injured, do they still get all their NIL money? Y'all remember blue chips? Yeah. So the way it just depends on what the termination clauses are, what is associated with those contracts. How each individual contract is going to be different. I'm sure depending on who the player is, some players they don't care if they're injured or not, they'll still have them show up at an event or, promote whatever business on their social media or something like that. But the way I understand it, those deals can be, they can terminate those deals um, pretty loosely. I don't think the termination clauses are like super strict. So what I mean is like they're not locked. These people are not super locked into these deals. Like there's a transaction that has to happen. If they don't perform said duty, they won't get paid. And if they're not available to do something because they're hurt, they won't get paid, so on and so forth. So it all depends on the deal structure. Jeff Trailer Coach's show is at 7 tonight. I guess you guys will be heading over there because I am about to head off. Thank you guys for showing up and participating. Obviously, we'll have a so just transparency here. I am tentative for the FAU game to be there live because I actually got on my dentist calendar earlier. It was supposed to be back in November, but they called me yesterday and said, hey, if you can come here Thursday, we'll see you. So it depends on what my pain level is like. If I have pretty much any pain at all, I'm probably not going to go and drive up to San Antonio for that. But we'll have to see. I'll be tentative. Anyway, peace out, you guys. Catch me on Twitter at Darian _UTSA. And then if you have any more questions or you want to just chat about some stuff, just hit me up. And then go Runners, man. Hope we win this weekend. See y'all.